Shine with Kendell, Lenice. Shine with Kendell, Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
Welcome to Shine with Kendell Lenice. I am your host, Kendell Lenice. I go by the Remix Coach, and I'm your favorite life coach here to help you in this life. This is the thing. Life is challenging. Life can be complicated. Life will always continue to life. But when we have the tools and experiences, it helps us a little better. So allow me to help you, and help all of us in return. I'm a transformational life coach, speaker, author, talk show host, and the podcast host right here on Shine with Kendell Lenice. For more information about me, you can always visit KendellLenice.com. But for now, we're going to get into this episode of Shine with Kendell Lenice. Hey everybody, it is me, your host, Kendell Lenice, and welcome to Shine. Thank you for shining with me today. Remember, we can all shine together. This is an exciting, amazing episode, but season. We are in episode 2 of season 11. Guys, season 11 of Shine with Kendell Lenice. I've been doing this thing for a long time, and each season I like to switch it up. I like to focus on a theme and carry that throughout the season. Well, this is a subject that everybody wanted to talk about. Now, you know, I've life coached through relationships and had relationship episodes before, but I never focused a whole season on relationships. And everybody was saying, Kendell, that's what I want you to do because my relationship is wonderful. I don't have a relationship. How can I get through these challenges? What do I do when my heart is broken? I want to be married. I want to be divorced. How can I be in a healthy relationship? Or how can I just learn to love again? There are so many different layers of relationships, and relationships aren't all hunky-dory and red roses. Let's be clear. Now, shout out to everyone who has an amazing relationship. And even with amazing relationships, they're not trouble-less. Like, you go through trials and tribulations, but it's how you resolve and how you get to the other side, the side of bliss. I was just, prior to pressing play or record, I was just watching an interview with Judge Lynn Toler. Now, you guys remember her from divorce court, right? She has been married for 33 years, and her husband recently passed December 2022. And she's playing out and showing her heartbreak. She's showing her vulnerability and transparency on social media. So all of those who follow her, you know, everybody's in the comments rallying around her, and she's showing what it's like to have your heart broken. So there are many ways that you can have your heart broken, obviously, by a relationship breaking up that was no longer serving you, or you didn't see it coming, or when someone passes away. I'm excited about my guest. Oh, and guys, season 11, I am doing all the episodes, the visual version as well. So you guys know I'm on the audio side, always Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict, and YouTube. But now you'll get to see the visual of myself and my guest as we discuss relationships. So we know everyone learns differently. So some might need the audio, some might need to, let me see who's talking, and we have that for you. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so right now. It's Kendell Lenice. And if you're watching or listening on audio platforms, thank you so much. If you're new and this is your first time ever hearing about this podcast, I don't know how you stumbled upon it, but everything is purposeful. I'm glad you did. So if you're able to rate, share, comment, subscribe, please do so. All right. Did I get all the business out of the way? And it's so funny because I'm used to doing this podcast sometimes with my eyes closed. I don't have the camera on a lot of times, but I'm excited to do it because, you got to do things differently if you want different results. All right, so without further ado, before I introduce my guest, as always, we're going to stick with the theme and start with this week's Life Note. All right, it's time for this week's Life Note. All right, so Kendell, what is a life note? It's a saying or a quote that takes us through the subject of the show that you can carry in your back pocket with you for a lifetime, really, when you think about different quotes. Everybody has their favorite quotes, and relationship quotes are everywhere. And I wanted to talk about the reverse. We're talking about how to renew your love, and we're going to be talking about relationships after heartbreak, but wherever this conversation takes us, that's where we're going to go. So if I had a flower for every time I thought of you, I could walk through the garden forever. And that's from Alfred Tennyson. So a lot of times people want to feel that loving feeling, right? They want to feel like they're walking through a garden forever. And then you have a flip side. All relationships go through hell. Real relationships get through it. I love that because that's a real one. Without further ado, I want to introduce counselor and relationship expert Melanie Trupp.
Hi.
I was trying to talk.
Here.
I know. I was trying to talk so fast so I could hurry up and get you on. Welcome to Shine.
Favorite topic. I don't think everyone talks about their relationships or lack of relationship. It just seems to be always a topic somewhere. Somehow it's going to get into my relationship with so-and-so or my lack of relationship. So yeah, it's a huge part of our lives. Or even the lack, as I say, I'm looking for a relationship.
Yes. So I wanted to fully introduce you while your gorgeous face is up here. Melanie is a seasoned counselor and a relationship expert with 25 years of transformative experience, dedicated to empowering women on their journey to authenticity, and thriving relationships. That's huge. And I want to continue. Melanie, her journey into holistic well-being has been deeply personal, fueled by her passion for understanding the intricate dynamics of women's relationships, navigating various life phases from single parenthood to dedicated partnership and a grandmotherhood. I love that word. Has woven a rich tapestry of experiences. I could go on and on and on and on, but she said something that really struck me because I have said this before, but the way she said it, she said, I view relationships as powerful mirrors reflecting beliefs, patterns, unconscious programming, and wounds, a revealing reflection of everything we need to know about ourselves. Let's just start right there. Let's start right there. That just gave me a chill again because it's so very true. Can you talk about that?
Oh my gosh. We can keep it on a real simple note, but we can certainly go deeper. I mean, the simple note is the value of myself, my worth. Okay, who we attract in our life and who we will accept in our life. I mean, that's just simple. I think that's kind of like a no-brainer. When we sort of we might end up looking at our girlfriends, or we might say, oh, what do you see in him? Or someone else is like, what do you see? And it's a value of our worth as our self-esteem and our self-worth comes up. That's internal. Then we will not accept certain behaviors, or we will say, this is not okay for me, or this is what I need. Our lack of self-love, of course, is when we get it's kind of like, when you're starving, you'll eat, I hate to say it, you'll eat anything because you're hungry, okay? And you're desperate. And this is why I've really gone towards women, because being a woman myself, but also being a single parent and through my journey, it's just like, when we're desperate, we'll take what we can get.
Ooh.
You know, and that comes economically too, because now with, you know, the cost of living and everything else, all these factors start playing in. Well, he pays the rent, you know, so we'll accept certain behaviors. So that's all comes into play. And so it mirrors where we are. And I know those decisions are based on where am I, my woundedness, or I've been hurt so bad. So I'm very, I got such a shield around me, and you can't connect to me emotionally. So I have a partner that's just sort of like, well, we do this or we do that, but we don't have a connection.
Ooh, that.
Yeah. That was just a little bit.
I mean, we're just jumping right in, because that right there, I'm telling you, whether you're watching live or listening live, or listening or watching the playback, that right there is extremely powerful, because it's very true. Because a lot of times you'll try to get your needs met, whether like you said, financial, or just having a little piece of man, or just having the bare minimum. Can we talk
status? It can be status. It can be so many different things, whatever we're looking for. You know, whatever. And sometimes it's unconscious. And I don't know if you didn't put in my bio, but I'm also a master hypnotist and a hypnotherapist. Mm-hmm. So I spent, you know, hundreds of hours and years looking at the conscious and unconscious parts of our behavior and mindset. So all of that plays into it. And
what's the biggest thing that you found in that? Yeah, seriously, like with the unconscious part, what is the biggest thing you saw when it came to relationships, and you really examined it from an unconscious? Because you can think that you're one way and be a certain way that you think you're supposed to be and how to act. But when you're unconscious, talk about that. That's very interesting.
I think one of the things is triggers. That's a huge one. When we are unaware, or we're not sure of our wounds, or we become unconscious of it. And we don't even know what's going on. Yeah. But someone will say something or do something, and up comes this emotional reaction. Yeah. Okay? Mm-hmm. We're so unconscious, we don't notice it even as being as a reaction. We think it's, well, you just made me feel this way. You know? Yeah. And we point the finger, you made me feel this way. So there's a lot of stuff triggers. But lots of times we don't really know what the trigger is and why. Yeah. You know, and so we have to go back, and it's buried in our unconscious. Another thing is our belief system. I mean, we can see from our parents, we can see from the society that we live in, that we have a belief system about relationships, how they're supposed to be, you know, or that's what we know. And so that becomes unconscious. It just becomes what we think is normal. But for someone else looking outside, they're going, that's not good. Yeah. You know, that's not okay. You know, or gee, it's normal that, or I accept this because this is what my mother did, and this is what my grandmother did, and isn't this the way it's supposed to be? But there's so much more that's even deeper unconscious that we're unaware of. Like relationships, you mentioned the mirror. Yeah.
Yes, please talk about. Just keep going. Keep going, because this is good. Not just one good. It's good.
Good. Well, the mirror. I mean, even a lack of relationship. When you talked about lack of relationship, the first thing I say, well, where's the relationship within yourself? What kind of a relationship do you have with yourself? And a lot of times they'll go, well, I don't. You know, I don't even know myself. But I don't know myself. I haven't gone into myself. What do I really feel? You know, and even that comes to an extent in relationship with our own body, where we're actually living present in our body. You know, and a lot of us become through trauma, through wounded, through hurt, don't even want to live in our body, because that's where we feel all of our emotions and feelings. So we have a tendency to live in our head. And when we're in our head, we're rather than who we authentically are. You know, so all of this sort of plays in the mirrors about our own value, our own worth, a mirror of whether we're even present in our own body, whether we're authentic, whether we're, what will reflect back to us is kind of what we're giving out. And it can also positively reflect back in us too. And that can be qualities that we see in a partner and we don't recognize, well, we have those too. We may have buried it. We may have denied it. We may have not allowed it to fully mature, you know. And there's also qualities that we see that are very negative. We might judge them. Oh, they're too this, they're too that. And we have to look back in ourselves and where have I suppressed that? Where have I judged those qualities within myself? I always say 1 finger goes out and 3 goes back.
Yep. I always say that when you're pointing like this, that thumb is right back on you because you recognize who you are. That's why it's so easy to recognize someone's behavior or attributes or
judge it
within
ourselves
because it's something that's in yourself that you may disagree with or you may not like. So it's easy to see, and instead of turning the mirror on yourself, you'd rather reflect it on someone else because you don't want to deal with your stuff.
There's an old saying, and I love it: if it's in our world, it's in us. And when we can heal and shed the light into what is in us, we can help heal the world. Don't ever think we're all a part of humanity. Don't ever think that we're separate. If it's in our world, it's in us. It may not be displayed, though it's still there. And I think that's so important, just to do our inner work and to do our work.
It is. That's a mouthful because you're absolutely right. If it's in our world, it's in us because we are here. We are living here. We're having these same experiences. And a lot of times men are having it, women are having it. It doesn't matter what race, color, culture you are. Relationships are something that we all have in common. The way that we feel, the way that we maneuver, we all need healing. We all need to address all the ooky gooey stuff that we don't want to touch because it's too gooey and too sticky, and that's going to take us places that possibly we're not ready to go. But yet someone gets into a relationship and they're wounded and then they trauma bond and bring those wounds together and wonder what
have children.
Come
and
on.
Then they have children. And then the children, and this is honestly why I'm so passionate about working with women, because we are the mothers of our children. We are the grandmothers of our grandchildren. And having children myself and being a grandmother, through the years that I did my healing work, it was so amazing. And I did it for my kids, let alone for myself. Is what I didn't heal, my children would have to heal.
Ooh, say that, please say. Whoa.
What I didn't heal, my children would have to heal.
That generational trauma.
Absolutely, and belief systems and concepts and the way we live our lives. I really noticed that when I would come home from these very intense week-long workshops, and my kids, they go, "Who's coming home now?" Because I had changed, and something lifted in them without me having to say anything. Don't underestimate the power of your own healing. It is so purposeful, and it is such an asset to the global healing of this whole world. Your healing is so important. It is absolutely, I'm such an advocate of it.
Me too.
Because I see, the kids, the grandchildren, man, if we were all healed and we were all authentic and we were in a place without, projecting our woundedness and all of our stuff out on the world, could you imagine what the next generation would be like? And then one after that? I mean, this is how we're going to change the world, is we have to start doing our work.
Doing the work is so important. I'm doing a series on my YouTube channel this month because it's February, Valentine's Day, the month of love, and it's called Love and Healing. Yeah. Talk about you. I mean, you said a lot. You said a lot and so many powerful gems. Talk about what relationships look like when both parties have not done the self-work. They have not began the healing process. What do they look like? Because I want somebody to see themselves in what you're about to say. And I don't even know what you're about to say.
Oh, gosh. How can I say what they look like? I can speak for myself, okay? Because there was a time I didn't even, if I look back, like I'm going, I don't even remember, like, who was I? I don't even think I was on the planet. I don't even think I was there.
Right.
I'm being very sincere.
Yeah.
I don't even, like, who was this person? Totally unaware. Had no idea what my feelings even were.
Yeah.
I was just shooting it off, whatever I felt, whatever it done, and just trying to muddle my way through and fit into this, fairy tale idea of it's supposed to be this way. I don't think I ever had a voice that I could turn around and say what I needed in a way that wasn't shouting it out off the rooftops and blaming and being angry and everything else like that. I didn't even know what a boundary was. I had no idea. And I had no idea what I really wanted and what I needed because I didn't even know me.
Yeah.
I was just kind of thrown out and surviving.
Yeah. Me too.
And I wasn't aware. And that's what's so hard is when you're in that, I think a lot of times you're not even aware.
Yeah.
Until something, I never know what the magical moment is that sort of that clicks is that I got to start doing some work.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's sort of the soul or the spirit just starts to rise up and says, I'm doing this now or I'm not going to make it. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint. I'm trying to reach all those little spirits and souls of beings out there to shed all this caca that, and wake up. And I think that's why I'm so much into this is like, we don't even know that we're under these illusionary trances and we're not awake. We're not even, and it's sad. And it's you just want to like give them a shake, wake up,
Yeah.
So what does it look like? Oh,
it looks like that. What you just said, a mess.
A mess.
A mess.
But what happens when you're in it?
Unbeknownst to you,
I don't think you know how bad it is.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's what's really sad is because I think you really just don't know. I mean, there might be a part of you that knows, and I think there always is. I should say that.
Yeah.
There is a little part of you that does, but the bigger part that is just so accommodating it, just so much unaware, unconscious, just lives in that mess. Yeah. And that little part, and that's what I'm trying to, everybody who's out there, if that little part is there, focus on it. And it's painful, and that's why people don't want to either, because it means that something has to change.
Yeah.
You don't have to get out of a mess if you don't acknowledge it's there.
Oh.
So a lot of fear rises up.
You don't have to get out of the mess if you say that again.
You don't have to get out of the mess if you don't acknowledge it's there. So the moment that you say, oh my God, this is a mess.
You have to address your mess.
It's really hard to you have to. You got to. Now it's going to start eating at you because you're kind of purposely trying to deny it. But once the light is there, it's really hard to close the curtains.
Ooh.
You try to shove it across, but it's really hard to do.
You are dropping some gems here. You are dropping some gems. If you open up the curtain, you can't ignore the light. You can't ignore the light.
Once you've seen it,
so
it's
powerful.
Really hard to close it again.
Yeah, you're going to have to open your eyes.
Trust me, I remember that.
Yeah. So talk about, and I've been in relationships as well where you don't even know you need healing until you see a mirror, right? Till you really understand different personality types and connections and dealing with somebody else's healing and dealing with somebody else's unhealed parts, I should say, and really trying to navigate your way without even knowing what's going on with you, especially at a young age or an immature time or whatever it is. If you're not addressing your healing, it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 68.
And lots of times you may not know it, but your body may be showing it to you too.
Your body keeps the score.
Starts taking place.
Ooh, your body keeps the score.
Feeling sick, you get stressed out. There's a whole bunch of other things that coming up, and it's like all these little signs are always there, and it'll get worse and worse. Or then you're using addictions to shovel it down.
Yeah,
you're shoving everything down. You're trying to stifle it. You're trying to stop. And it's just like everything just, because I think no matter what, we are meant to heal.
Yeah.
We really are. And I think that we're called to heal. It's just when we stifle that out of fear or just unconsciousness, something just keeps popping up and trying to say, you got to address this. You got to do this. It means change. And that's so frightening.
Yeah. Why do you think people are so afraid to, number one, change, and number two, address their issues and begin that healing process when it comes to themselves, and how that can be detrimental if they're entering a relationship?
I think there's a part of us that knows that when we start addressing what's going on and that something needs to change, I think change for a lot of people is very frightful when they don't know exactly what they're changing to. I mean, if I knew that I'm changing from this to exactly that over there, then I can assess whether I want to. But you're kind of walking into an unknown. You don't know where it's going to lead. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. And then you doubt this of yourself. And there's a lot of self-esteem and self-worth. If I change and I start speaking up my boundaries and saying what I want, I could risk losing this whole relationship. And then now comes the next level that comes down. You as a woman, sometimes that will come down, shouldn't have had that right to speak up your boundaries. You're being too bossy. You're being too picky, you're being too obnoxious. And in order to be loved, which comes from a deeper level of the unconscious, I'm just saying for some people, I must be what I perceive as being lovable. Because when I grew up, when I behaved and I said, yes, mama, yes, papa, I was loved. When I turned around and said, no, I don't want to, I got a scowl. So there's little connections are made. If I'm not behaving a certain way, I'm not going to be deserving of love. So we've got all this. This comes down on us the moment we start doing this. In comes another layer. You shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. So it's you need a lot of support, and I think a lot of guidance to get through these layers that have suppressed yourself into these places of staying wounded and staying unhealed and not coming out, in a sense.
Yeah, because for some people, and Kevin said vulnerability is very uncomfortable. So addressing, and guys, you're listening and watching Shine with Kendell Lenice. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast or my YouTube channel, please do so. My guest today is Melanie Trupp. She is a counselor and relationship expert. And if you're just tuning in right now, it's live, but make sure you watch this again from the beginning, because out the gate, she dropped gems. We just started. We didn't ramp up. We just got to it. And that's what it is. Sometimes you got to rip the Band-Aid off, and have those and have these type of conversations, because I always advocate and I always say, I want people to be in healthy relationships, not just, like you said, for a status quo, or just to say I have a man, or I'm in a relationship, or, I'm engaged or married, or instead of all of these titles, really focus on having a healthy relationship. Have you ever had a relationship where you could clearly see was not serving you and it was not healthy?
Are you talking to me?
Yes. And if you guys have questions, please, if you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, definitely put your questions in the chat. And if you're listening via audio, send emails, or if you can comment within the podcast, KendellLenice.com. or KendellLenice@gmail.com. But yes, you.
Of course I have. I didn't just come
Me
on
too.
this planet and just come with all this wisdom, okay? I went through the trenches,
Yeah.
okay? I've had, I didn't get this. I learned the hard way, but I learned I went through the trenches. Yeah, I've been through the trenches on multiple occasions. But I just pursued my healing work, and I did my work.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you're now talking, I'm a grandmother now, so I'm not new at this. But yes, I've certainly, I have gone through the trenches. Yeah. Absolutely. And I knew, and having, as a single parent, absolutely terrified. How am I going to support my kids? Yeah. But there was that part of me that had, I talked about the curtain and the light. Yeah. There was that part of me that had already been flamed, that little piece of me that, in order for me to stay in this, just to have the financial resources, I knew that a part of me would have to die. And I don't mean physically in that sense, but a part of my soul, a part of my spirit, I would have to suppress, and I would have to do that. And it was just like a real tug, and being a risk taker that I am, I said, okay, I'm going to have to leave with 2 kids in tow. Yeah. And so I was, a single mom. So, I mean, there's many stories I could tell you that I've been through the trenches, but there's something that you said that was interesting. You said something about vulnerability. Yeah. And I'd like to sort of say to your audience, we think that being vulnerable is a sign of weakness, and actually you are the strongest person to be vulnerable. It's the weak person who hides themselves and shields who they are, because they're afraid. I am letting you all know the moment that you open up is what you call vulnerability. It's really your authentic self. Okay. The moment that you open that up, nothing. Okay, when you're that transparent, just imagine a sword coming through you. When you don't have a shield and and you're that transparent, just imagine it goes right through you. But when you have armor on to protect yourself and the sword comes out, you're going to feel that bashing against your armor. So the more open you are, trust me on this, the more vulnerable you are, the more authentic, the more you have given yourself permission to just simply be who you are, where you are in this moment. Okay. When you've given that, you're transparent. Nothing can come up against and batter up against you.
I love that.
You have to give yourself that permission. Yeah.
That giving yourself permission is so powerful because people, like you said, it's a fantasy sometimes with relationships. And if their relationship is not like the ones they see scrolling through social media, or their neighbor's relationship, or a relationship that you heard about through a friend, and if yours is different, then you're striving to be something that you're not, or even equipped to be. Because you haven't done the self-work, you haven't healed, you may not have the right partner in relationship, and you're trying to achieve something that possibly you will never achieve possibly with that person, because both people had nothing, they have no clue about healing. When you say, have you gone to therapy, coaching, counseling? Well, what do I need that for? That to me is a red flag and a stop sign. Because no matter how evolved we are, you as a relationship expert, me as a certified life coach of 25 years, it doesn't exclude us. We're still human beings trying to get through this life too. But we have the tools and know that we need to heal, or this isn't healthy, or maybe I need to look at that. Why am I reacting this way? Why am I defensive here? What is the root of that? Yeah. And it's so important to really examine and acknowledge yourself, because you can see something, but if you don't stop in your tracks and address it or acknowledge it, it's going to happen time and time again.
Time and time again. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter all these patterns and all these triggers and all this kind of stuff. You can toss away the partner who is activating your triggers, and rest assured the next one that comes in
talk about
will
it.
do the same thing.
Talk about
and it will not matter. They may look different, they may act different, but after a while, those triggers are going to get hit again. I liken it to when we walk around, and just to say that we've been bruised, on our body or something, we're bruised. And when we rub up against someone, it's just like, ow, you hurt me. You did this to me, because we're wounded on the bruise. When we heal our bruises, okay, and someone rubs up against me, it's just like, oh, so that's kind of a really good analogy of a
perfect.
Trigger that if
it's perfect.
And we get mad at them when they bump up against us. When we don't have a wound, now this is something that globally can help our whole world.
Yeah.
When we are not wounded, just take that analogy of the bruises, and something bumps up against us. Imagine when we just go, we allow people to be where they are. We allow them to do what they do. We allow them to be where they are. Like, we're not so offended. They didn't bump up against us. And that bruise can be a belief system. It can be a wound, an emotional wound, anything like that. But when we are that healed, there's this thing that happens that you just allow people. We're not trying to control. Don't get near me. Don't say this. Don't do that. We no longer have to control everything outside of ourselves in case it affects or touches our woundedness.
Melanie, when I tell you, you are hitting all the sweet spots, it's so important, because healing is my jam, like they say, you know what I mean? I love to talk about healing, right? And to really understand what that looks like and what that means to a person. It really is a sense of freedom. It sets you free. Talk about that a little bit.
Freedom.
Say that again.
It's beyond freedom. It is liberation. It is absolute, and that's where joy is. Word. Yeah. That's where we're no longer trying to control everything around us. True joy. It's an authentic, peaceful. It's joy, but it's not this pretense of joy. It's an inner at ease. Like you're not like walking around with barbed wire all around you, trying to fend off anyone from touching or hurting your wounds. You are free.
Yeah, you're free. And it's like you said, that inner joy, like that true joy, because a lot of people, I'm happy, I'm joyous, and they're dying inside. They're not truly happy and joyous, because you can tell how somebody responds to something or reacts to something, or if they're defensive. But that joy is like, nothing is going to shatter me, because I have done my work. My wounds are closed. Like you said, you can rub up against me, bump me, and that old wound has a scab on it, and now it has that renewed skin on there, where you cannot feel that wound open again. It's a beautiful place to be.
And I get so excited because, if there's any women out there want the fountain of youth, physical fountain of youth, heal those wounds, and it shows in your whole body. It shows in the essence of who you are. I think when we're diseased, when we're walking around with all this stuff, it affects the body, and the body can, when the wounds are gone and you're healed, there's energy, there's all this stuff, and you just are vibrant and alive, and it shows in your body.
It does. Let me tell you something, Melanie. You hit the head on the nail. I have posted, I don't post a lot of pictures of me online, but in, I think the last couple of weeks, I posted a couple, and people jumped into my inbox. What are you doing differently? Like, are you a vegan now? Someone said, like, you look like peace. You look like joy. I'm getting people jumping in my direct messages asking that. And it is what you just said.
Yeah, it is so true.
And I had no idea it was showing in my body. That people know the difference.
It totally shows in your body.
Let me tell you, I didn't realize even though you know that, I didn't realize. My daughter's friend, who I've known since she was little, my daughter let me listen to a voice message, and she was like, "What is your mom doing? Oh my goodness." And I'm like, why is everybody saying that? But it's what you just described.
Yeah, yeah. And we pick up on it, like whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And that can frighten people too. That's another thing. When you see someone who is so vibrant and alive and authentically joyful, there are two types of people. There will those that gravitate towards that and say, I want what you have. And then there are those, speaking of the mirror, okay, that they'll see that and they'll shy away from it, because what it does, it shows what they don't have. And so they don't want to be near it. You know, and I think, and I think that's...
And it doesn't mean perfection.
Sort of like
it doesn't mean perfection is you're actively healing. It's not like I'm perfect, you're perfect.
No, not at all. It just means the more that you heal, the more life energy you have, the more you glow, the more authentic, the more relaxed you are. And it's just simple things. You know, if you see someone who's super relaxed and you recognize I'm not relaxed, and then you either say, I want to be like them, or I just want to get away from them because they're so relaxed, it's making me feel so more conscious how unrelaxed I am, you know? And so that's the paradox of being, when you're doing your work and stuff like that, and you become more vibrant, and you become more at ease, and you become more authentic, and you become more, I don't know, just yourself in that way, right? And then someone will really want that, and they'll gravitate, and you would say all the coaching things, you know, come in your body and do your healing work and all that. And someone will see that, and someone will say it's frightening them because they feel so conscious of where they are. Yeah. And they don't want that. You know, like I remember I had an instructor way back when, and he was very much aware of his emotions and feelings. And I knew that I actually didn't know what mine were, but I kind of knew that he knew what I was feeling. And I was pretty good at maybe either hiding the feelings or not in touch with my feelings. Every time I was around that instructor, I was a nervous wreck because I thought I just really felt that he knew what I was feeling. And I was so used to being on the outside, not really aware of what I was feeling. So I didn't want to be around him. You know, it was like, I just want to go off into my own little place where I felt safe and I felt secure, you know, in my own unconscious state, you know. He terrified me. Yeah, that's, whew. I mean, hopefully, guys, I really hope that you're really getting this message, because it's such a powerful message. If you're currently in a relationship, if you're trying to find a relationship, if you're dealing, which we're going to talk about heartbreak before we end, and how to resolve that internally. But this is good for yourself. So when you get into a relationship, I don't like when people say, well, I met him or I met her and now I'm whole, you know, 50-50, they complete me. It's like you have to come in on 100. Or at least 99, right? Before you come in. You can't come in 50%, because that's never going to work. That mindset and those little sayings, some of those, you got to really watch what you say, because some of these quotes and sayings that people say, I don't even think that they hear that, or it's not even the intention, but they say it. You talk about relationship GPSs, navigating where I am in this relationship. Can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah, that's just kind of like a self-assessment, is where am I in this relationship? Where do I stand? You know, where am I? First of all, am I really here, or have I come in under a pretense and I'm in a role? Ooh. I mean, that's a real blatant one, right? Like, am I in a role? Have I been authentic right from the beginning? Or where am I? Where do I stand? I'm uncertain. I'm always feeling insecure. Is there a reason why? Is this a committed relationship? Is this not a committed relationship? Like, where do I stand? And where do I stand in my own boundaries? Where do I stand in what I'm willing to accept? Where do I stand in my voice? Am I willing to stand in my voice and say what I need? So all these questions is, where do I stand? And that's where the GPS is. That's a real self-assessment of looking at, like, where do I stand in this relationship? Let alone, where do I stand in the relationship with myself? Am I loving myself? Am I caring for my body? Am I listening to myself? And we talk about the mirror, when we say, oh, my partner doesn't listen to me. Are we listening to ourselves? Are we really listening to ourselves? And lots of times we'll listen to our mind, but are we really listening to ourselves? Stop. Listen to yourself. Like, not what you think, but listen.
Are we listening to our minds, or are we listening to ourselves? Please tell the people what the difference is. I just got that. I got it.
And then you tuned out on me here. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You said, are we listening to our minds, or are we listening to ourselves? I got what you were saying. Can you explain that for someone who missed that? I think that's so powerful.
Yeah. Our mind, the mind is just full of thoughts, beliefs, and there it's like a computer, and it's all the software. And let's just say in comes society, the parents, people outside have put all their programming in, and this is the way you should be, this is what you shouldn't do. And it has all these rules, and it has all this criteria, and it has all this judgment, and it has all of that. Lots of times we're listening to that. Okay, underneath all of that is the authentic self. It's you. It's not the mind. You have a mind. You that has the mind. Listen to yourself. Don't listen to your mind. You can use your mind, but who's in charge here? And that's where you start living authentically, and that's where you need to listen. Those quiet, and a really neat thing, a lot of people have that little intuition where, they come back, oh, I wish I listened to myself. I mean, they knew that little voice was there, right? But they didn't. They did what they thought they should do.
I don't even know how many times. That's how many times. And I had to apologize to myself for not really listening to my intuition, listening to my gut, and trying to always do the right thing, or trying to do what may have appeared to be the right thing or look the right way. I have ignored my discernment and my intuition for far too long. It didn't serve me well sometimes, possibly, maybe, but maybe not. And I had to apologize to myself, and I was like, I will never do that again. Yeah. I've done it multiple times.
It's a learning curve. And it's risky, and it's like there's no guide. When you really are listening to yourself, there's no guide out there. You are your own guide. And in that, you are taking self-responsibility.
Yeah.
Because you're listening to yourself. You got no one to blame. Yeah. You're going to listen to yourself. Yeah. So that's kind of scary sometimes for a lot of people. Yeah. But it's practice. It's always practice. Yeah. You could start off real small. It's like, listen to my gut. What do I want to do? What do I want to have to eat today?
But even sickness starts in the gut. Like, the gut is for real. You know what I mean?
It's for real. Yes, it is. That's why I kind of said, what do I want to eat? Let's just start that, And your body will help you with this, and you'll start knowing all these little signs that come up that something doesn't quite feel right, and you get so good at it after a while that it just becomes normal, that you're constantly listening to yourself. It doesn't mean you won't listen to other people, but it's yourself that discerns whether whatever they're saying resonates with you or doesn't resonate with you, if it fits or it doesn't fit. So it's not at the exclusion of listening to others. Sometimes listening to yourself says, I need to go talk to someone, and maybe but you still, the final say is within you.
Yeah, that's powerful. So 2 more points, and then we're going to do takeaways from today's show. So since we are talking about heartbreak, what is...
I don't think we even went there.
I know, we didn't. It's so much. I'll have to have you on for part 2. We have to talk about that. And I respect and I appreciate your time today. But how do you go from heartbreak to healing and that journey of love renewal?
Whoa, that's where the work comes in. I think heartbreak, I'm going to take something really deep in a sense, okay? Heartbreak is where we're not willing yet to accept what is.
Ooh.
When we're willing to accept, if we look at it in a sense, that's what we do. We don't know, but we're breaking our heart because we will not accept what just happened or what is.
Woo! You just set people free. Hopefully, if they got it. Wow.
Yeah, it's really powerful, but when you accept what is, even if it's a partner's death, when you come to that acceptance, there's no heartbreak, it's acceptance. But heartbreak or whatever is we do this to ourselves. We don't know that we're doing it. It's almost like defiance. This didn't turn out the way I wanted. This is not what I wanted. And because of that, I break my heart. But we don't know we're doing it. And until we accept what is. And I know it's a hard one to swallow because heartbreak is really felt. I mean, I've certainly felt it. Okay. But the deeper I went into it, the more I looked at it, I wasn't willing to accept what was.
Yeah.
I just wasn't willing to accept it.
Yeah.
This is not the way it should have been.
Yeah.
This is not the way it should have been. It was just like, no. But once I said, well, it was the way it was, there's that, and that's up to us to be willing to accept, that this is, honestly, it just comes down to is acceptance.
Yeah. How do we love again after heartbreak?
How do we love again? I think we are love and we can. It's just, if we have moved through heartbreak and we understand really what it's all about, and it's about acceptance, and we move into a deeper level of awareness and everything else, love is a natural way of being. Okay. To turn around at one level, and I understand there's many levels kind of here, is to love again is, we're afraid of, again, being hurt and so on and so forth. But when we understand this, okay, and we mature and we realize the impermanence of everything, we realize all of this that can happen. If we can accept that, there's very little heartbreak.
That's powerful.
But if we want to protect ourselves from all of that, again, it's sort of like that protection, that inability to be vulnerable and accept things as they are. We want to protect ourselves, or we won't have those opportunities to really go for it.
Yeah, that's
because,
cool.
Like you said, it's not all roses or this or that. I mean, you could have the most beautiful, loving relationship that you finally got it, and there could be a death.
Yeah,
it's and if it's not about, nothing lasts perfectly beautiful forever, no matter how gorgeous it is.
Yeah,
it's just that fact that when we can be vulnerable to everything out there that is going to be there and be willing to experience it without, I don't want to feel that. Yeah. There's something shifts inside you that you are loving again is it's our nature. Loving is our nature.
Yeah. That's what
it's
we
our
were
nature.
born
You look
to
at all
do.
babies, right? They're just like, you love them because they're just full of love until they learn to close up and get or do whatever.
Yeah, because we were born to love. That was what
that's
what we do naturally, right? And it's only until, like you said, the heartbreak or not willing to accept what is, or because of betrayal and hurt and unhealed spaces, and this unhealed person hurt this unhealed person, and that, like you said, we close up like a clam, and close ourselves. I'm not loving anymore. I'm not loving. I remember when I was younger, and I don't mean a child. I mean probably, I don't know when this was, maybe 30 years ago. I prayed to God. I said, please harden my heart. I don't want to be sensitive and in love. And I'm glad he did not listen to me. My child, he was like, poor thing, you're just hurt.
I've been there.
I was like, harden my heart. But that's not innately who I am. But I wanted it because if you feel, you know how you see some people who know how to harden their hearts so it seems like nothing penetrates. Now, we don't know what happens when the lights go out and the blinds are closed.
Yeah.
But they appear to be able to have it. Their emotional intelligence is so good and they're so, well, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
but it was only when I grew. There you go.
You can't connect with them.
There you go. There you go.
They're unapproachable. You can't connect with them. And having been there too, because I have back then had a huge amount of heartbreak, but it was mostly about I just didn't accept what was.
Yeah.
It didn't turn out the way I wanted.
That's a game changer.
This person didn't be the way I wanted them to be. So I've had my heartbreak for sure. And I also did that whole thing of just being super misindependent. And I was like, I was unavailable for connection, even though outwardly, I would like to date. I would like to have somebody in my life. But the truth was, the mirror was, I was not available.
Yeah. Emotionally, you were just closed.
Totally. Yeah. And, it affects your body when you're like that. Yeah. But, it does affect your body when you're that close. So the body, it also affects your relationships because you're not available for real connection. Yeah. And then always you're missing it and you're wanting it, but you have to do the steps to have what you want. You have to be that mirror. If you want authentic, real connection, and you'll never get your needs met. When you have walls and barriers around you, trust me, you will never get your needs met. You can't go shouting out from, behind the brick wall, hey, I need this, but people can't get through to give it to you.
Ooh.
You want to get love, they can't get to you.
I need you to repeat that again for the people in the back, because that's powerful. You're complaining and you're yelling to the rooftops. You're not getting what you need, but you're not making yourself available, and you're not tearing down that brick wall so they can get to you.
Exactly.
It's the emoji, the mind blown emoji.
Yeah, and the more you let those walls down, there's just all your needs will get met.
Ooh. And
they are. It's insanity.
Yeah.
It's just like, it just keep it in the visual of, like the little story of the three little pigs, and you got that brick wall, and the little person's behind there, I need this, but you can't get it through. It's just crazy. You've got to tear that down.
Ooh, that is a game changer. You guys might want to rewind this if you're watching the playback and really listen to that. Because so many people, when I do coaching or listen to friends talk or scrolling through social media and hear someone talking, it's like people are trying to get what they want, but they can't get what they want because who they are at that moment is blocking them from getting what they're. So it's almost like a hamster on a wheel. It's like you want this, but you're not getting this, but you can't get this because you don't do this. And people need to know differently. And that's so powerful. That's that healing again, to really understanding the self-evaluation and doing that self-work. Dang, I could go on and on and on and on with you. We got it. Would you be willing to come back for a part 2?
I would love to come back for part 2. I'm such an advocate for women, relationships. Trust me, I work with a lot of men too, but my focus has been women right now.
Yeah.
And it's just more, I think because we are the mothers of the children, not that the fathers aren't, but I think that as mothers that we can help doing our healing, our children, but in economic times and everything else like that, I just see, ladies, let's get this going.
Yeah.
Let's heal.
Yeah.
And then we can help our partners and we can let's do a revolution and get this going.
It's so true because we are that thermostat.
Yeah.
We are, and people don't realize when it comes to, if you're in with a man or woman in a relationship, it's like the woman sets that tone. And I literally had to learn that and understand that, because you might think, oh, well, it's you too. It's you. Yes, everybody's responsible for themselves. But I think if we really focus on ourselves in that way in a relationship, because the only person we can control is ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And our healing
and our responses.
is a gift to, our healing is a gift to all of our community, to our family. It's huge. It's so valuable and so important.
Yeah. I want to ask one last question, and we're going to do a part 2 with Melanie, because if you're watching this, I know you're getting something from it, whether you watch it live or the playback. This podcast goes all across the country and beyond. I was looking at some of them. I was like, Sweden? Oh, okay, you guys are listening. And then it was like some parts of the United States. It was like, really? Okay. So I appreciate that. But this is one thing that we all have in common, no matter how old you are, whether you're experiencing heartbreak in high school or in a retirement home, you're still experiencing that. And some people get it at 20. Some people may not get it till 50. But as long as you get
Some get it multiple times.
Come on. Yes. And then whether it's healing, like it's my saying is it's never too late to remix your life at any stage, age, or phase. So it's never too late to switch it up, to understand, to learn. It's not too late. If you're older and you're like, I can't get these relationships correct, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying. I hope this episode helps. I want to end before we do our takeaway. It's so much, but I'm respecting your time. How do you, to sum it up, how do you build a lasting relationship that is happy, whole, and healed? Like, how do you build that healthy relationship?
One step at a time. It's just one step at a time.
Yeah.
And when things come up, you address it.
Yeah.
But that comes, like, okay, so a trigger's come up. I'm going to address that. What's it about? Where can I heal this so that we can move on?
Yeah.
Or communication, and it's about being more authentic. I mean, it's just one step at a time. I think if you go into a relationship for the purpose of real partnership, but in a healing way, I always believe relationships are really a good opportunity to heal. But if you go in it, say, I want to have a healing relationship.
Wait a minute. Let me say it. I want to have a healing relationship. I'm not in a relationship now, but I'm going to speak it. I'm manifest it. I'm going to pray on it. I want to have, because I said I'm not going to be in any relationship that the person is not healing and it's not a healthy relationship. So go ahead. I had to say that while you said it.
I think when you set the intention and it's just like, that you're always constantly, but not, it's like a constantly working for how deep within each other can you get? How deep intimacy can you get?
Yeah.
How much are you willing to, share? And you're just sharing the journey, and it means everything, and I think long and lasting is continually sharing that and being willing to do your work through it as you join. You just keep joining.
Yeah.
I think it's just one step at a time, but it's a commitment. See, my commitment in my relationship has always been to my healing journey. I've spent my whole life on this. And when you say a partner does 50-50, I mean, to me, my partner is the icing on the cake. I did the cake first.
Hello.
I made sure it was cool. It was just fine. And he is the icing on my cake.
There you
and
go.
I love it.
He might be the strawberry on the top of that sundae.
Exactly.
He's not the sundae. Yeah. He's the
I just dropped my earbud down on the floor. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. So I think, when you have an intention within yourself, that you want that type of relationship, that intimacy and that healing, then you communicate and you work through your triggers. You do all of that stuff.
I love that. All right. So at the end of every show, I do a wow moment takeaways from today's show. So let's talk about the takeaways from today's show.
Shine with Kendell.
All right. It's time for this week's gem takeaways from today's show. All right. This week's gem, I'm going to allow you to go first because I'm just going to say all of it. Like I can't even point out other than healing. Heartbreak is not heartbreak. It's just what you haven't accepted yet. There's so many, but you have the floor. What are your takeaways from today's show?
My takeaways.
What is the? Because you gave all the takeaways. So
I think it's awesome talking to someone about this, and that someone that is also resonates with the importance of doing the healing work. Like that is my biggest takeaway. It's just been so nice to talk to you and resonating with the healing work and how important it is. And, if this reaches audience out there, is to please, just do your work, healing work, wake up to this, and when we say healing, and I know you probably speak for you too, it's not that something's wrong with you. Yeah. It's not that. Yeah. It's not what we're saying. It's just saying that there's things that are motivating you or directing you in certain ways that, underneath all that, it's not where you want to be. It's just like to uncover all that and remove all the caca.
Yeah.
And let yourself,
That's my takeaway. Remove all the caca. And get to the root of things. And that, I mean, that really is a takeaway. Because if you remove all the caca, all the garbage, all the gook, all the stuff that's holding you back from healing and loving in a healthy way. Because a newsflash, everybody, it's not always everybody else. Sometimes it's you. As Melanie talked about, if you're pointing the finger at someone, most of the fingers are pointing back at you. And you're not responsible for anybody else's healing or journey. You're not really, your only thing that you can control is how you respond. That's your responsibility, how you respond, how you heal, and how you learn to do your work. All of that is your responsibility. If you're worrying about someone else's healing, if you're worrying about someone else, how they respond, how they act, what they're doing, that's not your concern. Your focus is you. And until you work on you, and you're an asset to someone else, then you can't expect no one else to be an asset to you. And like Melanie said, they can't even get through because you're not even that self-aware to understand where you need to heal. Wow. Melanie, we're going to do a part 2. We're definitely going to do a part 2, maybe at the end of the month. But tell the people, meanwhile, how they can connect with you if they want to work with you, or if they just want to ask you questions. And you guys also, you can get your questions ready for Melanie when she comes back to shine as well. But how can they get in contact with you?
I would love the questions. I love questions. Don't get me started.
I'm going to have a whole bunch of questions for you. and I might slide my questions in there too with the people.
Okay. So where they can get a hold of me, I do have a website. It's Epic, just like it says on the thing, epictransitions.ca.
Yeah.
EPIC transitions.ca. And it stands for Empowering Personal Improvement and Change. Just a little acronym that was there, epictransitions.ca. So in there are, I have just a whole bunch of stuff. I have courses. I have a free book. You can sign up for a free ebook on your relationship, trying to figure where you are. And all it is just coming in deep and answering yourself those questions. And all it requires from you is to be really honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And that can be difficult, when you just really have to get out of everything else and just be honest with yourself. So there's a relationship quiz. I got programs. I got a whole bunch of stuff in there. And I got one-on-ones as well available.
I love that. What brings you joy?
I think I'm naturally a joy person. I think on the other hand, I love my grandkids. I love seeing these little beings grow up and the connections that I have with them. My kids, I'm out in nature, my partner, life. I don't know. I think it's just everything.
Yeah, it's resonating.
Sometimes I'm real joyful. I wake up in the morning.
Yeah. But it's all over you. You can see it. You can feel it through the screen. I can feel your joy. I can feel that you've done the work on yourself. I can feel your passion for relationships and helping other people. And I can feel that sense of freedom that you have. That's what I feel. And I'm sure the audience feels that too. Melanie, I thank you so much for being on Shine with Kendell and Lenice. You're welcome. What are your last words as we conclude? You have the floor.
I have the floor. Okay. For all of you ladies out there, check out my website would be awesome. But most importantly is do your work. You're worth it. You are so worth it. And that's it. You have the power within you to honestly to help change this whole world, and we need it so badly. Don't underestimate the power of you. Don't.
You heard her. Don't underestimate the power of you. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Shine with Kendell and Lenice. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. If you are listening through the audio and you're able to rate or leave a message, make sure you download, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. These are the conversations that I want to be all over the place when we're talking about healing and going viral. This is not a foolish conversation. This is a life-changing conversation. So please, if it blessed you and you got something from it, please share this episode. And we're going to have Melanie. I know you want her. We're going to have her again. You heard her right here say she's going to be here. But thank you. Remember, you are a star. Don't allow anyone to dim your shine. For more information about me, visit KendellLenice.com. Follow me on all social media platforms at Kendell Lenice, and on TikTok, it's The Remix Coach. Thank you for watching. God bless you guys. Peace. Bye.
Bye.
Shine with Kendell Lenice. Shine with Kendell Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.